Hey, what's up, guys? It's your boy Taz again. I am gonna go over how to change colors and textures in WoW for item editing. So I've gotten this to partially work, and I'm gonna be working through how to get it to work the rest of the way. Uh, and hopefully, if this gets uploaded, that means that it worked. So let's go ahead and get started. As usual for item editing, we're going to be starting off in WoW export. We're going to export as PNG, and then we're going to open that item in Blipster, which is part of the Amaroth tools package that I shared with you guys in the last video. So after we get into Blipster, we're going to open that PNG file that we exported. Keep in mind if it's a multiple textured item, it's going to have to be done a couple times to get the whole thing to work. But you guys will get the point here. So, all right, we're going to go into Blipster. We're going to say custom conversion. Actually, we're going to convert once just to see what this thing is. All right, we can see here it's an RGBA, and it changed it to BLP DXT3 by default. That's not what we want. So I'm going to go through. I went back and deleted that new BLP that it created, and we're going to then create a custom conversion rule, and we're going to say PNG RGBA, which is what we got from up here, to oh well, it already is. All right, start that over. I apologize. Some of the PNGs that you convert, if they are not RGBA or RGB, will not play nicely with GIMP, which is the program we're going to be using to edit this. But since this is already an RGBA format, we're going to go ahead and edit in GIMP. So had we converted that and seen that it wasn't an RGBA PNG file or an RGB PNG file, we would have converted that to an RGB PNG. So now it's opened in GIMP. I'll scroll up here, and basically we're going to cut out the parts that we don't want to change the color of. And the reason I'm selecting these parts specifically is because they are, as you can see, wrapped up in the trim. And editing that is going to be difficult. So we're going to set them to a new layer in GIMP. And layers, if you don't know, basically are editable instances of a picture. So, you've got obviously the layer that's on top is going to be the layer that shows up first, and layers that are below are going to be layers that are underneath the other layers. And then when you merge them all together, they will behave as you've merged them by layer. So right here, what I've done is I've taken the lasso tool and I've cut the little image out here, and I hit Control X for cut, and I'm going to say Control V. Oops, we're on the wrong layer. There we go. So now that we're back on the base layer, I'm going to say Control X and Control V. We're going to right click the new floating layer, and we're going to just say to new layer. And so now everything we do here on the base layer will not affect the metal parts here. Then we're going to go over and we're going to take just a generalized cutout of the trim picture here. It doesn't have to be perfect, but as close as you can get it within reason. you're not going to really see the difference in image quality in terms of this. I've looked at one that I did successfully and one that I didn't, and I couldn't, with my naked eye, tell a difference, especially on a molded texture that's going to be on an item that, you know, it's not going to look at all like it does in this image when it's actually implemented in the game. Alright, and we basically just selected the trim, right? We didn't select any of the leather. So then we're gonna go up here to colors. We're gonna say hue saturation. We're gonna change this bar here that says hue till we get the desired color we want. I'm gonna do this to green because these are supposed to be kind of like Ranger gauntlets from the second war that the Elven Rangers would have worn. And we want this to be a little bit dark, almost like a forest green is what I'm going for here. That's fine, but I think we just there. Okay, that should do. If you're going to be editing an entire item set and you're using the pre-rendered textures like we are here, it's probably good to remember these numbers so that you have a uniform color between the item. So we're going to go ahead and say OK here. All right, and that's good enough. So then we're going to go over here and we're going to say export as, and we're going to say, instead of B, we're going to designate this G for green. And we're going to go OK and export that. And yeah, you're going to say OK. Leave all that default and say OK. All right, we're going to close this in GIMP. There we go. And you can see there's no discernible difference other than one's green and one's blue. So then we're going to go back to Blipster and we're going to say clear screen. And we already know that this is a RGBA item, so we're going to go up and we're going to create a custom conversion rule. And we're going to say from RGBA to a BLP form that we know works, which currently is BLP PAL Alpha 0. We're going to say save, say yes, and then we'll select convert. And you can see here it goes from RGBA to BLP PAL Alpha 0. And now we have a BLP file in here. So from that, we're going to go to our data folder and we're going to add it to the patch. Yes. Go to item, texture components, hand texture, which was the, as you see here, it's the same file path that WoW Export gave us. And you can see I've tried this before today. This one did not seem to want to play nicely though. And I'm trying to see if maybe just starting fresh will help with that. So we're going to copy our file path from the export file, select the new BLP that we just did, and yep, that's fine. And we're good. Now I have already imported the display item display info DBC, and I've also created the item already. So we're not going to go through that because I've already showed you guys how to create items and how to designate textures to models. If you haven't seen that video, please go back and watch it. I'm not trying to force people to watch every single video that I do, but it does save everybody a lot more time instead of me going through how to do the same things over and over again. So this was the first one that seems to have worked. This is the second one, and we need to change this to G. And we're good there, so we'll say save. And now we actually do need to go into data and update that patch because right now it's still using the blue one. And I did that as a test to see if it was the new PNG or if it was just something else that was hanging us up here. So add files. Again, we're going to go here, copy the file path rather than searching around. And we're going to import the item DBC, display info DBC. And that's now updated. Our item DBC is already updated with the item, nothing to do there. Let's go ahead and log in and see if we get what we want. And there we go, it worked. And now we have green gloves. So I already edited the previous version to have the green up here. And the other thing I did in the previous video, I showed you guys how to basically import these models. And what we had was basically a giant black spot here. And the reason for that is, let me go back here, quit, and select texture components, arm lower texture. This was the problem child. I'll go ahead and export the newest, which I believe is, yeah, it's going to be that one at 1206. So here's what happened. Let me show you guys. Go back to BLPster. Clear screen. File, add files. And we want the 1206 file open. And we'll go ahead and just convert it however it comes out. I don't really care. I already know it's going to be RGB. That's fine. Cool. And now you can see that we have the RGB file. And this is how it exported. Well, what it doesn't show you is, and it's even hard to see here in Windows with the icon, but there's this alpha channel here. And that was what was causing that blackness to be there. What on earth is it bitching about? So basically what I did to fix this was I cut this whole portion out. I'm going to do it sloppy as shit right now because I don't care how this turns out because it's already done. Alright, you see I cut out that nasty thing that doesn't actually grab any of the trim properly. And I pasted it back in, and now I'm going to move it to the top. And then basically the only other thing that I did to make this fit was alright, we're going to say okay, and we're going to say merge to layer, or anchor layer for now. Alright, that's fine. You could do a new layer, or you can just merge or anchor it to the current layer. It doesn't matter. I'll show you a little bit how layers work too, actually, while I'm here. Alright, we're going to say Shift S for scale. You're going to want to make sure that this right here is broken. Otherwise, it will link and it'll go sideways and up and down. You don't want that for this indication. And then basically, you're going to shim this up, right? You can do that, or first thing we really should do is cut that, paste it back in, change this to a layer that's lower. Actually, we'll just give it its own layer, to new layer, and then put that layer below. And then again, this is really ugly. You can do a better job with this if you just know how to appropriately. You want to grab as much texture as you can and scale as little as possible. As you can see, I haven't done that here because this is going to look ugly as shit. But it can be done better, and you'll see what I mean in a second. Shift S, unbroken, or we're broken there. And then we're just going to shift it up here and move the whole damn thing. And like I said, this looks bad. There's definitely a technique to it, and you don't want to cut this nasty crap out. Like all this silver space was useful, but I wasted it because of the way that I cut it. And so, yeah, we're gonna go like that. Okay, and just move this thing down. And we're gonna say scale. All right, and you can see it's popped up. I have no idea why. There. And now it's up underneath. And so that's kind of how you would hide, anything that didn't directly match up. And like I said, it does look ugly as hell here. That's not how I actually did it. I took my time. But that's how you fix that. And the reason that that was caused is that the geoset for the item, which is defined in item display DBC, there wasn't a geo set for that new item that Blizzard had come out with. It didn't exist for Waddle K335. So for instances like that, you have to adapt a little bit and you have to improvise and kind of make things work. At least for right now, you do until I figure out how to make my own geo sets. But that's basically how it's done. And you'll notice that also here, I'll show you just a really quick thing with DBCs. In terms of geosets. So I'm going to open this and we're going to look and see that boots, belts, chest pieces, helmets, all that have the same number geoset. And you might ask yourself, well, why in the hell? Like, see, these here are 0. But if I went up to some other set of gloves, right? Literally any set of gloves. I don't care. All right, well, hell, these are gloves and these are pants, and they both have a geo set of 0, right? How does that work? Well, the way that works is that the item is actually defined in the item DBC as a leg or chest or whatever slot, and that's what determines what kind of geo set to use for the item. So even though this is 0 here and the pants are 0 here, the texturing is going to mold itself based off of what kind of item that you've designated it as. So GeoSet 0 for pants is different than GeoSet 0 for gauntlets, GeoSet 0 for boots, all that stuff. And that's kind of how that works. So that's somewhat taken care of in the item creation, and it's also somewhat taken care of here. And I know that gloves go from 1 to 4 as geosets. So there's different shape gloves, right? You've got the rocky looking, boxing glove looking thing, and you've got slimmer, more, practical looking gloves, and then there's all sorts of geosets. So you'll have to play around with that as you're creating new items, figure out what you want your items to look like, and try to get your textures to match. But even if they don't, just know that you can kind of by eye go in and figure out what it is that you need to change in the actual PNG file and export it in Blipster as the appropriate BLP, and that will solve your problem. So I hope that this was helpful. I apologize for the first 10 minutes of the video there where I was floundering, but this is how it's done. This is how you can move new stuff to the old Waddle K game and still have an interesting set of items to put in. So I hope that this helped everybody. I hope you guys have a Merry Christmas, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.